Welcome to SOULFIRE Sessions podcast with me, Louise George from louisegeorge.co. This is the place to be for weekly inspiration and interviews with incredible entrepreneurs, creatives and leaders. If you enjoyed the show, please like, comment, share and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's conversation is with the amazing Lauren Robertson. Lauren is a medium, a coach, and a Hay House author of the book Medium in Manolos. I am so excited to share this episode with you. So make yourself a cuppa, put your feet up, and enjoy the show. Welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing?
I am delighted to be here, Louise. Thank you so much for the invitation.
It's my pleasure. Honestly, I'm like giddy excited to have you on. As I just said before we hit record, I'm excited to read your book and to get you on and hear how everything's going for you, because we got to know each other a little bit last year as we had the same coach for a little while. And since then, it's all been go and change and so much has happened. So you are about to officially launch and release your book, Medium in Manolos, easy for you to say. And that's with Hay House. So how's that all been going and how are you feeling? Are you ready for that to be launched and on the shelves?
Oh, Louise, honestly, I am so ready. I feel like I have been pregnant with a brain baby for like 2 years. So it is definitely time for the book to come into the world. And yes, it's the Medium in Manolos, but people have been confusing it with the Medium in Mykonos. And I was like, that would be an island in Greece.
That's an island in Greece. It's a very different thing. And I wouldn't recommend wearing Manolos there.
Yeah.
Terrain. Yeah, exactly.
So yes, I'm super excited about the book coming out. Really thrilled that it's coming out with Hay House. The process has been a really interesting one, the writing process, with it being my first book. You know, every day has been a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to feel more like into the celebration mode now. So the author, like actually nitty gritty of writing it is over, and sort of the celebration and getting the message out there is beginning. So definitely an energy shift, especially from this week.
Oh, I can imagine. I can see it. Like you're just so lit up by it now. But I'm sure there have been some moments, but like you say, you've been pregnant with this brain baby. And I love that you say that, because the creative process is really like that, isn't it? And I haven't actually given birth or had any biological children, but I hear people all the time describing that process as that. There's a lot of hard work and pushing and pain that goes into that creativity, and you are out the other side of that now. Do you relate to that? Has it been that kind of agonizing process creating, or did it flow quite easily for you in the actual writing of the book?
It's been a little bit of both. You know, people have asked me all the time, how hard has it been to sort of write this book and stay focused on it for this long? Yeah. And I say it's the hardest easy thing I've ever done, because writing a book, and especially a book that combines coaching and mediumship, which is my two loves, came totally naturally to me. But there were definitely difficult parts of the process. Definitely the edit was really a challenge. You know, being edited and having your work edited. I suppose it's like somebody calling your child ugly. You know, that's how it felt sometimes, was like that, you know, this bit's not good, or this bit has to be moved, or we have to go. So that bit was really, really challenging. But sometimes I actually look at the manuscript and I just think, where did I find the time to write that? And sometimes I look at bits and I think, did I write that? So it has been a fairly surreal process, with some bits being really amazing and enjoyable and in flow, and other bits being fairly challenging.
I'm sure anyone who's creating, or as particularly writers and authors, can really relate to that. So one of many, I'm sure, the first book of many to come, and I'm excited to just get my hands on it. I've pre-ordered it, and we'll share all the links so everyone else can do the same. When is the release date?
The release date is the 5th of December. It's a Tuesday. But if you fancy a trip to Glasgow, the official launch party is on the 4th of December, and it's going to be very swish.
I'm going to be in LA. Everything's happening while I'm away. Well, I will look forward to getting the book in my hands after that as well.
Yes.
As well. So I love the fact that you're bringing mediumship into the now, aren't you? And making it more accessible for anybody. And I love how you say that mediumship is something for everybody, that anyone can do. if somebody is brand new to this concept, or has perhaps just heard of mediumship but isn't really sure kind of what you do, or thinks it's a bit daunting and overwhelming, could you explain a little bit about exactly what it is you do, and how, if somebody is brand new to this, they might be able to explore for themselves as well?
Sure. So mediumship really focuses on the idea that our lives and our capacity to love are eternal. So when we are done with our physical bodies, there's a part of us that persists. And what mediumship is about is, as the medium, my role is to provide you with evidence, communication, the sense and feeling that I can tap into your loved ones who have passed. So your loved ones who are no longer physically living, but who are persistent on and continuing on in love and in the wider sort of scope of consciousness. And the way that we do that is really just through conversation and communication. And the objective is to really have you get the sense that your loved one in spirit is with us. So by sharing with you things that I couldn't possibly otherwise know, or mannerisms they used to embody, or things that they used to say, or important names and dates. And really the purpose of that is so that you can be assured that they're safe, that they're well, that they're okay where they are. And again, one of the things I'm really interested in is looking at what the true value of that is in our sort of modern world today.
Yeah. And so what is the true value of that in our modern world today? It's one thing somebody being able to communicate with their loved ones in spirit. And do you find that quite often they have very clear messages for people who are still having the human experience?
Yes. So many of, I think, your viewers and listeners at the moment, Louise, will have had some degree of a sense that a loved one in spirit has been around them. It's far more ubiquitous than anybody's really even talking about right now. And, for me, really the function of why a person in spirit would want to communicate with you again, somebody who loves you, isn't really so much about them letting us know that they're okay, which is what we get preoccupied with. We want to know that they're all right, that they've made it, that they're not alone, that we want that reassurance. But actually, my viewpoint is that they return to us to actually check that we are okay and to give us something of our lives back. Because, listen, they are now in a place of absolute harmony and love. They're good. They're fine.
Yeah.
It's us that needs the help. I envision them looking down at us and being like, "Oh Lord, I better wade in there and see if she's okay." Exactly. So for me, that's really two fundamental things. First of all, the pain of losing somebody can cause us to contract in terms of our love. When we feel that we've invested a lot of love into a relationship and then that person dies, it can teach our heart that it's not safe for us to love. And so we can kind of pull the shutters down. And so one reason I think Spirit endeavour to communicate with us again is to prevent that from happening, so that we can live from a more loving and open place. And the second reason is because fearing our own death is something that can also hold us back. We don't take risk, we don't take chances, we don't live as fully as we possibly can, because in witnessing somebody else passing away, we're reminded of our own mortality. And again, that can cause us to live in a way that's too small. And when our loved ones can return to us and let us know, you don't have to fear dying and you don't have to fear losing love, it can open up a whole different sphere of what's possible in life for us. And really, that's the message that I keep getting from Spirit. That's what mediumship is really about. It has a humanitarian application, really, to help you live your fullest possible life.
Thank you so much, because actually it was only on meeting you and reading about the work that you do, Lauren, and hearing you just explain it then, that I'd actually ever considered mediumship in that way. And I've always been open to it and curious, but had always considered it was checking in on loved ones who had passed. And so while I think most people are curious in that respect, I hadn't actually applied it to how it could actually open us up to so much more expansiveness reduce that fear we have of our own mortality. That's life-changing, isn't it? To be able to, have that understanding and to be able to be cracked open in that way. I guess you see this with your clients, with your coaching clients all the time, how just opening them up to this can have an impact on their relationships, their careers, health, like everything. Just like you say, living in a more fearless way is what we're all here to do as much as possible, isn't it? So thank you. Like this is huge, and I'm sure anyone listening is going to now consider how much of an impact this could have. So how could somebody start exploring this for themselves? Is this can anyone do it? Is anyone able to be a medium? Would you recommend it if someone doesn't really know what they're doing? Talk to us a little bit about how someone might apply it in their own lives.
Sure. So one of the biggest controversies in the mediumship circles is the idea of gifted versus learned. Are there some people who are born gifted, or can communion with spirit be learned?
Yeah.
My belief is it's no different to being able to play the piano. Right? Undoubtedly, some people are born with an extraordinary capacity to play the piano from a very young age. Those videos making the rounds on Facebook and different things about these child prodigies who can play the piano.
Yeah.
But equally, if you have a desire and an urge in your heart to play the piano, you can learn it and take steps and do your classes and practice and learn to be able to do that. So I don't think there is a gifted versus learned in mediumship. Just like playing the piano, I think that there's different degrees of gifted and learned on kind of a spectrum that anybody can access. And I think that this is a really important part of mediumship exploration, because what I don't want is for people to ever feel that a medium has exclusive access to people who they loved in a way that they don't, even though it was their loved ones. And so one of the main points of my writing The Medium in Manolos was to actually transcend that divide, was to bring the idea of medium and non-medium together and look at it instead as people who might want to practice spiritual communion for their own selves, so like connecting with their own loved ones in private, and then those of us who are called more to do as such for other people. So rather than it being mediums and non-mediums, it's like those who would explore it in private and those who would want to serve and do it for other people in public. So that's a distinction that I would make. So yes, I think that anybody and everybody can explore their communication with their loved ones in spirit. Just because somebody has died, it doesn't then mean that your access to them ends and somebody else's begins. You can choose to keep your heart and your mind open to that. So the thing that I would recommend you begin doing is making sure you've grieved, really making sure you've really grieved first. There's a definite relationship I've found between feeling blocked to your loved ones in spirit and a lack of acceptance for the reality that they've actually passed away. And it's through coming to a genuine acceptance of that allows a new phase of your relationship to begin, a more imaginative, mental, emotional, internal sort of relationship, sort of like the relationship we have with God or spirit or source. But we do have to come to a place of acceptance, in my experience, before that can begin. Because although when our loved ones die, it's very much, a difficult thing, actually spirit communication happens more on the energy of the miraculous and joy. So it's in grieving and really going through that and getting it out of our system and finding our return to joy that starts to have us experience these little signs and emblems and synchronicities that lets us know that our loved ones are there. When that starts to happen, then as with most spiritual practices, meditation is the next step that you want to go to. Definitely accessing a different state of mind that your loved ones in spirit are going to be able to meet you at.
Thank you so much for that. I experienced some grief at the beginning of this year when our beloved Troy the Spotty rescue dog made his transition, and in the grief I remember I kind of lost my my belief for a little while, because it wasn't as I expected. I have always believed and communicated with spirit, but hadn't experienced that depth of grief, certainly for a long time. And going through that, I just remember being really sad that spirit didn't exist. I was like, no, everything that I've believed up to this point and experienced up until this point isn't true. Like that, I can't feel him, I can't see him, he's just not here. And now I understand, and as you just explained so beautifully, it's because I was in that grief. I was having to process, and it was actually, like you say, after I went through that and allowed myself the time to grieve, then actually I started seeing the most beautiful signs that he was around, and now I talk to him regularly and totally feel his presence. But in that grief, definitely I couldn't communicate. But I guess that's because you're not at the same level, not at the same frequency, right? Is that how it is? It's the vibration and the frequency of spirit.
Well, in my mind, yes, that is a lot to do with it. As I say, when they pass, they become beings of light. They return to the harmonious state of the universe. And if we are disharmonious or in deep grief, that's what I mean about, Louise, the shutters coming down. The shutters come down in your heart. You're like, no, the shop is closed for spirit right now.
Yes.
Can't face it. And it's fine. And spirit's never going to be mad at you or leave you for that.
Yeah.
But it definitely needs to be when you decide to kind of open up shop to spirit again, if you like.
Yeah.
The communication and the signs can start to happen again. So I definitely think it is a vibrational thing.
No, I felt that for myself, and just opening up again generally, isn't it? Because you're kind of closed to everything when you're in that deep grief. You don't want to talk to humans even. You're just kind of shut down, like you say. So how can someone start exploring? How did you first realize that you had this? Because I guess you're quite gifted from a young age with mediumship, or you understood how to communicate. How did that first start happening for you? Was it something that happened suddenly? Did you always have this sense that you were able to communicate with spirit? Talk to us about how you first discovered it.
Sure. So I began as a griever. So I began in grief too. My gran passed away when I was 17, and she really represented unconditional love to me. And she died on Valentine's Day after a long battle with cancer. And the story about it is actually in the book too. And it was really when she passed away that my heart and mind were first turned towards the possibility that there might be something beyond just our physical material bodies here. And the reason why was because shortly after she died, I had this incredibly vivid dream about my gran. And in this dream, I was in her home, and I knew that I shouldn't be there. So it was almost a lucid dream in a sense, because I knew she had died. I knew that I shouldn't be there. I was very confused by the whole matter. And there was all this sunlight kind of streaming in through the window of her living room. And suddenly I heard this really familiar noise coming from the kitchen, which was like mugs and toast and tea and biscuits all getting placed on this metal tray. And that's really the sound of my childhood.
Yeah.
And just as I heard that sound, I knew it was my gran, and she sort of burst open the living room door in all her glory, and she literally looked angelic. And anybody who's lost somebody to cancer knows how much it ravages the body. So, but when my gran appeared in this dream, she looked so young and youthful and just radiant and amazing. And she put the tray down on the table, and I was cheeky. I said to her, "How do I know this is really you and this isn't just a dream?" I was like, "You shouldn't be here, you died." And without saying a word, she walked up to me, and my gran was only about 5'2", and I'm 5'8" in bare feet. And in the dream, she literally placed 2 fingers either side of my hips, and she lifted me straight off the ground as if I was weightless. And she looked into my eyes and she told me, "It is me, and it is real, and when you're older, it's going to be your job to tell people that." And I just remember my feet grazing the floor, and I woke up. And time passed, and I got really interested in psychic readings and angel cards and different things, and I got a job with a psychic company when I was 16 through the job centre, no less.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So since I was 16, I've been doing readings and doing demonstrations and speaking, like all over the country and internationally. And it was one reading that I had with a particular woman. And again, I've written about it in the book. And really, I had only done psychic readings, but the most urgent thing that she needed to talk about in that moment was her dad, who had died. And for the first time ever, I felt a stranger, somebody I didn't know, sort of impress their personality on my consciousness. And from that day forward, it's like he opened the floodgates, and that was that.
Wow.
So I started off as a griever, but really it's come from empathy. I really love people. I'm really interested in people, relationships, what makes people tick, what really matters to people. And I believe that my empathy and my love for my gran has really been the foundation from which other people's love has been able to kind of get through to me as channel, if that makes sense. So if anybody out there is grieving or in the early stages of developing their gifts, you know, it is like an evolution, and it's perfectly acceptable to start out from that place, as many of us do.
Yeah. I had goosebumps throughout that, so thank you for sharing that. Just the experience, and I felt like I was with you and your gran in that story. So how beautiful that she is living on very much with you every day, I'm sure, as you're writing your book and when you give your talks and your coaching and giving readings for people. So thank you for sharing that with us, and I can't wait to read about her. She sounds like an incredible woman who had an amazing influence on your life. So amazing.
Yes.
Very cool. How does someone protect their energy if they're looking to communicate with spirit? My limited understanding of it is that when we open ourselves up to spirit, we can open ourselves up to lots of different energies and different kinds of spirits. Do you have a way of protecting your energy? And if somebody's just starting out to explore this more spiritual realm, how can they protect themselves to make sure that they're not going to get overwhelmed or have energies attached onto them that they're not welcoming in? Is there a process that you go through or would recommend for that?
I might shock you with this answer.
Go on.
I don't actually believe in psychic protection or energetic protection in terms of spirit. I've never I've done to date about 30,000 readings in 13 years, not including any public demonstrations, and I've never encountered a bad spirit, a bad entity, anybody attaching to me or anything like that. So I can only talk from my own experience. But I think the reason why that is because A, I don't believe in them. And B, I honestly, in my heart of hearts, do my best to see the good in people all the time. And everybody has a light side and a shadow side. You know, the most horrid person was once an innocent baby, and the person that you know who seems like the most divine and good person in the world probably has their own insecurities or has made mistakes or upset somebody. They probably have to take crap on Facebook in the comments, you know. So everybody has this good side, but like dark and light, shadow and light kind of sides. And for me, it's really been about a personal development journey of making sure that I, as the medium, am in the highest possible vibration that I can be in, so that those who I have my attention on to work with and those who I'm shining my light of awareness on are equal to the vibration that I myself am on. And so a lot of what I do is help people and train people and coach them to actually elevate themselves out of the belief that there's such a thing as bad spirits, or elevate themselves away from any sort of trauma that they might have experienced that might lead them to believe that because there's bad people, there's going to be bad spirits that attach to them, and have them see instead that they are the executors of their own ability. And if they choose to receive and transmit messages of love, then that's all that's going to get through. You know, it's like if you're tuned to a certain radio channel, you ain't getting the other radio station, no matter how much you want it or worry about it. So it's about helping somebody tune themselves to the vibration of who it is that they actually do want to come through. Now, that doesn't mean it's necessarily always pretty. It ain't always pretty. I've had criminals come through, gangsters, drug dealers, all sorts of people. But if they have a message of love, then they get to step forward. And if they don't, then I've never seen them, because I just choose not to be in work, not to be on a vibration of that. That's my take on it, at least, Louise.
I love that. That makes complete sense for me. Because, you know, and I'm not working within mediumship, but within coaching and within speaking, it's intention, isn't it? It's intention and looking after your vibration, however you're working and communicating. So that makes complete sense that if you're focused on love and high vibration, then that's it. It's this law of attraction, isn't it? It's like attracts like. You're not going to get what you're not at the frequency of. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's going to actually allow people to explore a bit more and you know, give them that understanding that actually they get to protect their own energy and attract what it is they want to put out and bring in. So thank you. Would you talk to us a little bit about your experience of the spirits coming to you? Like, do you see them? Do you hear them? Is it all of those things? How do you experience spirit?
So my experience of spirit is fairly holistic. I am predominantly clairvoyant, which means I see a lot of things in my mind's eye, but also I'm clairsentient, which means I feel a lot of feelings and emotions. Mm-hmm. So primarily I get the sense of a person's personality, and then I see their memories or something they experienced or a name or something. Occasionally I will hear, taste, smell, feel, think certain things that are a reflection of them. And it, like you say, like attracts like, and so it's almost like when I work with spirit, the person's sensory experiences are being expressed through my physical senses. So, you know, the clairs, as we call them, like clairvoyance is the most common one, means clear sight. Mm-hmm. Clairaudience means clear hearing. Yeah. And so the physical senses match up with the spiritual equivalent, if you like. Mm-hmm. And so they tend, or at least it feels to me, that they are tending to impress what their experiences was onto the equivalent senses of mine. So usually it's clairvoyantly with a lot of heart and a lot of feeling. And definitely there's ways that people can figure out what their dominant clairs are. I've written about that in the book as well. There's lots of exercises that you can try to find out what your dominant clair is. And it tends to be, here's the kind of trick to it, it tends to be the sense you use most dominantly in life. So there's a way you can figure that out at one of the exercises in the book, and again your psychic sense, if you like, or your mediumistic sense will tend to reflect that.
Amazing, thank you. And I know you said you've kind of developed it through your own personal development and practicing, and can you switch it on and off? Is it something that is open to you all the time? Are you always getting these impressions and using your clair senses? I guess it's like another sense, isn't it? Is that always open to you, or can you switch it on and off?
When it comes to mediumship, it's always off until it's showtime. Okay. You know, that's what I say to spirit. I'm like, right, guys, it's showtime. The prayer is like, the prayer is always, I really hope you're there.
Please come with me to this room full of 100 people waiting to hear from you.
Exactly. It's like, you've never let me down yet, but I haven't heard from you in a while. So when it comes to mediumship, it's like, right, guys, let's go. It's showtime. I never have people coming to me in my bed or doing this or doing that. Again, it's like, I think because I've always had a lot of boundaries, because I did begin my work at 16. It was always, right, you're going to work now, so here's showtime, get up and talk to these people. So because I always had those boundaries and those were set for me, I never ever had the experience of spirit bothering me or anything like that. However, I do have definitely a spidey sense, you know, like an intuitive, let's be like water and just go with the flow of what our gut tells us is right. That is switched on all the time. And definitely I'm still in the process of learning to listen to that and trust that more, as I'm sure many of your listeners will be experiencing right now. Because with business, you know, and entrepreneurship, going with your gut is one of the best things that you can do. Being so rational and male dominated in the past, it's not always been valued to go with your gut. And so definitely like keeping that spidey sense, you know, that intuition nice and sharp is a daily practice for me. But mediumship's just, let's go guys, it's showtime.
I love it. Because again, I think that's something that may stop people from exploring it, because they might be wondering if they're going to open themselves up to a lot of unwelcome like spirits or just distractions when they're not looking for it. I love how you've mentioned the spidey senses and the intuition, because that is something that I know a lot of women listening to this will be really interested in, and it's something that I talk about a lot. You know, my SOULFIRE sessions community is that inside out revolution for success. It's all about developing your soul's journey and purpose, listening to your intuition, and being able to trust that, because in my opinion and experience, it's that's going to lead you to the external success and the life that you desire, not, you know, like you say, going with that old paradigm of doing business and thinking your way to success. And so could you speak to that a little bit, about how people developing their mediumship skills and that intuition and those spidey senses can, in your opinion, really support them as an entrepreneur and finding their soul purpose, if you like, as well?
Sure. So the one thing that really in the book, I think that everyone will be able to take from it, but especially entrepreneurs, because in reality, I am one myself. You know, I'm really interested in making something out of nothing and creating and being of service. So I'm very entrepreneurially spirited. We'll get through this eventually, Louise.
I know, we need to put our teeth in today. Sorry, I probably pushed it onto you now.
You're fine. So really, it's about the fear of death. Lovely topic. But for me, you know, that fear of death is really manifesting in our lives as many different fears. And especially with entrepreneurs, you know, we can have that fear of rejection. We can have the fear of, you know, being the tall poppy and we're going to get cut down. We can have that fear of being visible. You know, we have the fear of success, the fear of failure. There's all of these different fears. But actually, to me, all of those different fears, if we really boil it down to what they're about, these fears a lot of the time are about being ostracized from our tribe. So we have a very ancient part of the brain that's designed to keep us in harmony with a certain community because we need others to survive. So when we try to stand up and be counted, come out there with some kind of radical message, leave the workplace as an employee and go after our own dreams, that completely goes against a very ancient urge, which is to don't be seen or make yourself a problem. You know, get in with the group and stay with the group. And so really what that's about is if we're ostracized from the group when we were a caveman or a cavewoman, it meant death. It meant starvation. It meant not being able to hunt. It meant a lack of resources, because it was our collective mind and consciousness and community that enabled the human race to thrive. And so therefore, it really is the fear of death that is like all of these other fears. When we really boil it down to what it's about, it's the fear of our own demise. So I really hope that anybody reading the book will be equipped with tools and also evidence to realise that they no longer have to fear their own death. Right? We don't have saber-toothed tigers chasing us anymore. We don't have, you know, like the same degree of illnesses and diseases killing us in childhood. We don't have to worry about other tribes, you know, like stealing our women and trashing the place and all the rest of it. So really now these...
really.
Well, yes, but not to the degree certainly that a caveman or cavewoman would, but our minds are still reacting as if. And arguably the people who do harm others, it's because they're acting from that place of I need to do to them or they're going to do to me. So I really feel that we're moving into a new paradigm where believing in the fear of death is like so 2000 BC. And it's now like...
Is that one of your quotes in the book? That's got
no, but it should be.
You definitely need to put that out as one of the quotes in the PR campaign.
That's a tweetable right there.
Yeah, totally.
So I really feel that we're moving into a paradigm where believing in the eternality of life and love is like more beneficial to where we are right now. Believing that we're all connected rather than we're tribes at war. And by sincerely training your mind to get into that place where you don't have to fear your own death, the question I want to raise with entrepreneurs is, how would you be living and how would you be doing your business differently if you weren't scared to die, if you weren't scared to perish, if you weren't scared of that ostracization? And I really hope that your community will be able to take that from what we've talked about today and from the book if they decide to go ahead and grab it.
Thank you so much. You've really shaken up I think, well, certainly my thoughts and beliefs around mediumship, and, you know, I'm so open to it, but I know that this book is going to really shake up everything and make it more accessible to everyone, but actually help people understand what you've just explained is that if we can get over our own fear of dying and our own demise, how would we be living? How would we be showing up? What is the full potential of our time in this form? You know, and that's very exciting. That will change everything for so many people, I'm sure. And it sounds like this is the work that is really lighting you up so much, you know, working with people and helping them to live a fully expressed life while they're here.
Yes.
And that you've got spirit and consciousness supporting you so much in that. But before we wrap up, would you mind talking a little bit about how you've used spirit to overcome or to be on the journey of overcoming your fear of death? Are you still very much on the journey of that? Do you feel like you're there? And how has that really supported you in getting out and being visible and standing out and getting your message out there? Because your message, you know, I feel like you're so courageous in standing out and saying, this is what I do. I'm a medium. and actually I'm shaking it up and I'm bringing it into the now as well. And I love that you're really, really running with that message, and you have an amazing tribe supporting you as well, but you've very much had to go out there on your own, haven't you, in much of this. So how have you dealt with that?
Yeah, so first of all, when I knew I was going to get the book deal, I was like, yes, I'm officially immortal. Because once you've written a book and you have legacy and it's out there, and especially with technology now, it would take something really bad or really extraordinary for that to go away or stop being true. So being immortal helps. But on a more practical level, definitely the two, yin and yang for me, is gratitude and ambition. Like being grateful, honestly, I know it's an old chestnut, but it's an oldie and a goodie. You know, being grateful for every day, every moment, even the difficult stuff, you know, waking up and genuinely being like, yes, like I get to live today. This is amazing. And just being, you know, like finding extreme pleasure in little things, and, you know, keeping in that kind of grateful, mysterious, allowing yourself to be wowed by life and the world. That's one side, but not allowing that gratitude to make you complacent. So understanding that ambition is also a blessing that you've been bestowed with, that you should be grateful for. You know, for me, that's the yin and yang that's kept my wheel turning, really. And in terms of spirit is definitely in everything, I think. And I see things all the time to be grateful for that I feel is really imbued with spirit. And definitely ambition is the spirit within me desiring to be expressed. So I no longer argue with that. I just go for it as best I can and make it happen. And it's working out pretty good so far.
I love that. Stop arguing with the ambition and go for it. So you must feel like you're never alone as well. Once you open yourself up and you have this understanding of spirit, and that we're guided by so much more than, you know, just having to rely on our own humanness and you know, coming from the headspace. That must be really comforting for you as well, to really have that belief and that connection, and to be surrounded by that higher consciousness.
Yes, I talk to the stars.
I love that.
Like where I live is on an outskirt of Glasgow, and so there's very little light pollution. So when I take my dog out for the bathroom of an evening, you know, I often look up at the stars. It's something I've done since childhood, and I feel the whole universe looking back at me, and that's the moment where I really feel it. So, you know, that's a really, really special moment to me, where definitely I feel closest to spirit. So look for that moment in your own life. Like if you're listening to this or watching us at the moment, look for that moment in your own life. If you seek it out and you look for it and you find it, that feeling and that type of moment will always be there for you. That is the feeling of spirit kind of accompanying you on this magical journey through life.
I love that. I do that every evening now as well. We've recently moved to Richmond. We were in further into London before, and we couldn't see the stars, and that really saddened me, because I've always been, before I was in Cornwall and we could always see the stars, and that would be my kind of connection. And now we can see very clearly from our garden the stars every night, and I step outside and let the dog out, and I'll just look up and say a prayer or gratitude or whatever it is for that day, and that's a really lovely way to connect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the amazing book that you've created that I cannot wait literally to read. And I wish you all the success and love and all the blessings. I know this book is going to be such a great success for you, but it is also going to change so many people's lives and give so many people comfort, and not just in the book, but the tour that you're going to be going on with it. And did you say you're going to have be on radio a lot more and in the public eye a lot more as well? So we're going to see a lot more of you very soon.
Yes.
So thank you so much with everything that you've shared today. And anything else that you'd like to leave us with before we wrap up? Any last words of wisdom from Spirit?
Yes. Just one. Not one word, one sentence. I never just say one word. The key with mediumship is that our service is not just to the dead, but it's in fact to the living. And so if you're ever in doubt about how to be closer to spirit, whether it's your own loved ones or for other people, or the entrepreneurial spirit or the great spirit that's out there, who you are in life, you become in spirit. So turning your kindness towards a living person, a human person, somebody in your life, or even yourself, is the fastest and easiest way I know of to really elevate that hotline to spirit.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. What a beautiful message, and really nice way to wrap up. Thank you, Lauren. We will be sharing all of your links in the show notes as well. Is there any place that you would like to immediately send people to that they can download the copy of the book?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm really excited about the book because I'm doing like a lot of competitions, special offers. There's lots of freebies attached to the book as well. So you can pre-order the book at the moment from laurenrobertson.co.uk/MIM. So it's MIM for Medium and Manolos -book. So it's MIM-book.
MIM-book, awesome.
When you go there, you will see competition entries to win coaching with me, to win access to my members club. And when you pre-order the book, even though it's not out till December, you'll immediately be given my free Searching for Spirit course, which is for people at any level of interest who are looking for spirit in their life. It's an audio course. It'll be delivered to you right away, totally free. Keep you busy till the book comes out.
It's amazing. I've pre-ordered my copy of the book and I cannot wait to read it. Like I say, I'm gutted that I'm going to be in LA for the launch, but have an amazing time. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. And good luck with it all. Sending you loads of love. Thanks.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Soulfire Sessions podcast with me, Louise George. Again, if you enjoyed the show, please do like, comment and share with your friends and community, and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss future episodes. If you're not on iTunes, you can find us there by searching for Louise George Soulfire Sessions podcast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can watch the episodes and get access to Soulfire Sessions TV. That's over at louisegeorge.co/YouTube. Thanks again. I look forward to speaking to you very soon.